How's it going, guys? It's Paul Myers, licensed professional counselor, owner and lead therapist at Intentional Counseling. We are a group practice in Frisco, Texas, and we specialize in mental health. And today I'm going to cover the topic of measuring an individual's receptiveness. This is subjective, it's a fine art. But it really matters a lot, especially when we're communicating with a difficult person, or maybe there's a sensitive topic we want to address, or something that we need to discuss with somebody that we know maybe they're not going to respond very well, or we're just not sure how people are going to take it. And so measuring people's receptiveness is really essential, crucial aspect to interpersonal dynamics and understanding people, and when it's appropriate to have difficult discussions with people. So I've bullet pointed some ways to measure this receptiveness in people. We're going to be looking at a handful of things that all kind of play a factor. And so first thing I have is an individual's personal sense of responsibility. Great, quick, easy way to measure receptiveness in somebody. If you're having to approach them with a difficult topic and having a, how well are they going to take it, having to measure that. How much personal responsibility do they take in their life? The more personal responsibility they take for themselves, their decisions, their actions, their words, their feelings, usually the more receptive that person is going to be. People that are taking ownership in their life and they take that personal sense of responsibility for themselves, they're going to be more receptive really to anything that you want to bring up to them. They're going to handle it better, be more likely to be receptive and hear what you have to say. Versus an individual that doesn't take personal responsibility, they blame others, they make excuses, they get offended easily, they justify their behavior, they rationalize their behavior. They live in denial, or they deny away flaws that they have. But they just have a hard time admitting fault or apologizing. These individuals usually aren't as receptive, right? So that's a huge way to measure receptiveness, is personal responsibility that the individual takes, right? A second measurement stick is the intensity of that individual's emotions. Typically, if they're experiencing really intense emotions at that time, they're really probably not very receptive. Most people, when they have a lot of emotion and they're in their feelings, they're less receptive during that time, just because their emotions are running rampant and they're a little less rational at that time. And so the more intense that emotion, usually the less receptive they're going to be at any given moment for that time, right? So maybe, wait until the emotions have subsided a little bit, they're a little more rational, a little more calm, be a little bit more receptive to what you're saying. The third thing is timing. So there's a lot of things to note when you're addressing a difficult topic with somebody. And measuring receptiveness, it's are they in a rush? Are they on their way somewhere? They have to be somewhere at a certain time. There's a time constraint. You have to be at work in 5 minutes or whatever. The timing matters a lot. So you're going to get less receptiveness if you have bad timing. Let's say they're they only have limited time and it's not an appropriate amount of time to have the discussion. Another way to time it is how tired they are. If they're had a long day, they're tired, they don't have the energy, not probably the best of time to bring it up, or they haven't eaten or they haven't slept, or things like this that really impact a person's level of receptiveness and energy level. They're fatigued, they're drained. Not the best of timing to address certain things that are going to be difficult to address. And so timing matters a lot. The fourth thing to measure their receptiveness is their style of communication. So people will give away their style of communication. Some people communicate very directly, and those people that communicate directly tend to prefer to be communicated back with directly, versus people that are more soft or more passive about their communication or indirect, and they prefer some sense of softening down or indirectness. Just kind of depends on the individual. So a direct person that communicates directly a lot of the time, not every time, but a lot of the time they'll prefer you to communicate directly back, right? We tend to respond better to similarity rather than different. It's just human nature to relate more and respond better to what's similar, right? So communication styles matter. So when we're measuring receptiveness, if they're a direct person, they're probably going to want directness from you, which means they're more receptive. Versus an indirect, they're less receptive. Number 5 for measuring receptiveness is you have to consider the source of information. So in this scenario, and if you're trying to address a difficult topic or a sore topic with somebody who you're trying to measure their receptiveness, you have to keep in mind the source of where the information is coming from. So if you're the one delivering it, you're the source. And what's their receptiveness specifically to you? What sources of information is this person receptive to, right? Certain people are biased about what type of information they accept, or maybe they're unaware that they're biased. And so keep in mind the source of where the information is coming from, and would they be more receptive if this came from somebody else, or more receptive coming from me, or less receptive coming from me? Kind of get a feel for that. Well, number 6 on measuring receptiveness is the individual's level of boundaries that they have. Some people have thicker, bigger boundaries than others. They're more aggressive, they're more vocal, they're more likely to be offended or to have their toes stepped on and be upset. Those people have stronger boundaries. If they enforce those boundaries, they communicate those boundaries. The stronger their boundaries, usually the less receptive they are. Versus some people don't have boundaries, they're more passive, they're more receptive typically to what people have to say, less likely to respond poorly. Okay? The last thing is number 7, is the level of accountability that individual has in their lives. So if they are the kind of people that they have a therapist, they have a mentor, they have a small group or a group therapy that they attend, or some kind of 12-step program or Bible study or some type of accountability group, right? Those people usually, if their lives are characteristic of accepting that accountability, then they're going to be generally more receptive to what you have to say because they welcome accountability. Versus a lot of people circumvent accountability, avoid accountability, they don't want it in their lives, they don't welcome it in their lives, and they don't have it. And usually the less accountability in their life, the less receptiveness that person's going to be, right? So that's it for measuring receptiveness. There are a lot of other factors that go into it, but these are some of the big ones that are, to me, dead giveaways. Pretty obvious. If you notice that a person is not very receptive, they're kind of hitting the mark on all these, and let's say that they don't have accountability, their boundaries are really strong, they're not open to hearing it from you, and their style of communication is very indirect, the timing is bad, it's late at night, their emotions are running high, they're really intense, and they don't take a lot of personal responsibility for themselves. They're not a receptive person. So addressing that with them, you want to really approach it gently, and you kind of have to baby them a little bit and build a relationship first and earn their trust before you can really get in there and address anything. Versus somebody who's the opposite, you can pretty much tell them anything and it's really not an issue. It won't create too much conflict. So, all right. That's all I have for you on measuring receptiveness. Hopefully that helps. And if you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave it below. If you have maybe examples in your life of when you were more or less receptive, or maybe you know somebody who's more or less receptive, maybe share that below to help somebody else. The more people we help, the better. If you don't have a therapist, feel free to reach out and go to intentional-counseling.com. And we have myself or many other therapists available to help you, either in person or virtual. We appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully this information is helpful, and we'll see you next time. Take care.